Thank you for that musical selection. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the President's Live Briefing. This afternoon, we have about 180 people registered to join us. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Lemons.
Thank you, Joshunda. Good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Today we have with us Vice President Nwosu, I'm really getting mixed up here. Vice President Rotolo, Provost Nwosu, and Vice President for Enrollment Management, Rene Sarmiento. For updates today, there's no news on the budget. This is my refrain, I guess, every week, but there's nothing really new on the budget. The only small little bit of news that we have doesn't come from Washington, D.C. It comes from New York State's Capitol, where the budget director this week announced the first quarter report, which is quite a bit late. But the first quarter projection on revenue for the state is now that the shortfall is 14 billion or a little over 14 billion instead of the 13.3 billion that they had projected. So it's a little worse. Not a huge amount, but it's going not in the direction we'd like to see it go. So that's all we know. We are still going month to month as a result of that. And there are conversations that are ongoing all the time with the chancellor and the board about how to proceed. But at this point, we will be month to month probably for the next while. Maybe it's possible through the fall term. So we will see. We're just moving ahead with the plans that we have made for the fall, and I don't think they really will change as we go through the fall term. The campus is really ready for the term. I was on campus today for an interview with Channel 12, and the campus really looks great. It's not quiet. There's a lot of activity going on. There are many projects that Vice President Rotolo is managing with her team, and all the workers are wearing masks, but there are no students and almost no faculty. Maybe I saw one faculty member that while I was on campus today. So it's quiet in that sense, and it's going to remain quiet in that sense for the fall term, as we know. Vice President Sarmiento will give us an update a little later today on what enrollment is looking like and maybe some of the details about that enrollment. The new faculty orientation will be tomorrow, and so that is a sure sign that the fall term is here. And of course, Wednesday we begin. We've completed our campus reopening plan. It's now under review, and we're doing some revisions to it. It will be finalized within the next day or two. Definitely will be finished before classes begin on Wednesday. We will be putting it on the website. I mentioned before that it's a pretty extensive plan. It's detailed, so you'll be able to have a look at the details of that plan when it goes up early next week. It's not a reopening. It's really, we've been talking about it as a reopening plan, but it's really not a reopening in any way that I think that term probably suggests. It's really a careful ongoing process of trying to understand what the risks are and adapting our processes to enable us to do the activities that we want to do and to the greatest degree possible on campus without increasing the risk beyond what is reasonable. As a part of that, we will continue to have a screening that's done before coming to campus. And that screening right now is done on the web, but there will be a new app that will be rolled out very soon, within the week or so, that will allow for a little more streamlined, actually probably a lot more streamlined process and easier pre-screening before coming to campus to those who have been approved to be on campus. As always, masks are going to be required everywhere at all times, and all the other precautions will be taken. So we are set to go for the fall term, and I'm sure the provost is going to give us a little more detail on that. Things that are in place now any changes that might have happened since the last briefing. One thing I wanted to mention is something that has always been a problem and a concern is phishing attacks that are directed to students, faculty, or staff. These, in the time of remote work, seem to have actually accelerated and also gotten much more sophisticated and are taking advantage of the fact that everyone is working and studying remotely. And so there's a extra caution that you really need to take on the part of students. Oftentimes it's been some kind of an offer of an unreasonably lucrative position for stay-at-home work that then ends up asking for personal information and so on as these attacks go. And just for everyone to be aware, and again, just don't respond to these solicitations, no matter where they seem to be coming from, because the sophistication of those solicitations now is such that it can be very difficult to determine. So the safest thing to do is to go to your known links and your known contacts and inquire. If you think there may be something that is real, use your own, not the links that come to you via that email, but your known links and find out. And that's true whether it's something at the college or it's some business that you may do business with, whatever it is. That's definitely the best approach. I mentioned, I think last week, that the university has finalized the contract with Zoom. So there will be unlimited Zoom time and up to 300 enrollees in a Zoom session. And again, the licensing information and registering information is coming out. And so any faculty member who's teaching a course wants to use Zoom will be able to do that without the constraints that might have had to work with in the spring or maybe even in the summer. Students will be continue to get laptops and iPads. These are Chromebooks, either Chromebooks or iPads. They're registering for those or requesting those through the same mechanism, which is through the link that is on the front page of our college website. And we also are going to be distributing MiFis. These are the little hotspot devices for students that, even if they have a laptop, don't really have any kind of good, reliable connection to the internet. So that's a separate application that students will fill out, but we will be distributing those. The university bought about 4,000, which are going out to the campuses. We will also acquire more if we need to. And the university also is committed to do that. So we know that has been a challenge for some students who struggled in the spring term with really less than optimal connections to the internet and so to their courses. So we're going to try very hard to take care of all of those needs so that we don't have any students that are really disadvantaged by having to study, do all their coursework at distance. We're aware that there have been continued to be backlogs and difficulties with students with financial aid. We've tried to work with schedules, but we're also with staffing schedules, but we're also hoping that we can add to the staff. We have 3 unfilled positions in that office, as we do in many offices, but this one has been particularly challenging. So we're hoping that we can fill a couple of those positions at least soon so that we can get the response time better for students. It's so critical for them, particularly right now. And all the services that we are providing to students, we're doing them in a virtual way almost completely. And we know they're still not perfect. They're not as good as we would like them to be. I think they've been very good, and the staff certainly have all been doing yeoman's duty to make this work against really, really tough odds a lot of times. but we will continue to work at this as well. And because if we're going to essentially run as a distance learning institution for this academic year, we're going to continue to work at doing that better and better as we go through the year. And even if we have things that are not optimal as we start classes next Wednesday, we're going to keep working at that. And we're not going to get to a point, I'm pretty sure, where we say, okay, we've got it, everything is the way we need it. We'll never get to that point. And we will simply keep trying to do what we can as we go through this term and as we go into the spring term to do better what we're being forced to do by this pandemic. So I guess this is a really good opportunity to thank the faculty and the staff for all the work that's been done, because I know it's been a huge lift to do everything that we've done. And I know it hasn't been frustration free. And so I want to thank each of you for what you have done and the commitment that you have shown, because this matters. And this is the student experience. And I know that you care about that. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Provost Nwosu, who I know has some things to present to us.
Thank you, President Lemons, and good afternoon, everyone. I do want to join the President in re-echoing the appreciation to the campus community for the work that's gone on as we get ready to reopen for the fall semester. There are a few updates I want to provide in terms of the work on academic continuity. As the President mentioned, we are resubmitting our reopening plan. We did get feedback from CUNY yesterday asking for additional information, and that information was coordinated by VP Rotolo yesterday and today. And that revised plan is going back to CUNY, and we do expect to get the final approval that allows us to then proceed. Once we receive that, we will share that with the campus community, and it would also be on our website. There's some good news, next slide, that I want to share with you. As you recall, last spring, we worked across all of our schools regarding an initiative that the President provided funding for. This is the Academic Affairs Computer Refresh. And we did ask each school to develop a list of priority needs with an eye towards replacing aging computers. I am pleased to report that those computers have arrived, approximately 129 of those. They are with us on campus, and IT is now working to ready these computers for distribution to faculty members. So this, and staff members as well. So this is really, really very good news. And it comes at the right time for us as we work on reopening the semester, and certainly will go a long way to support virtual learning and the support services we are providing for all of our students this fall. I want to thank VP Bergman and his team, and the team in VP Rotolo's procurement office as well for the work they did to get us through this process. This is taking some time. When we began this process, we thought we will get this shipped to us very quickly. But as the pandemic hit everyone, it became a function of supply and demand, and we experienced some delays. And so it's wonderful that we now have these equipment to assist us with our work. Next slide. You're moving, go back, please. Yes, the President actually spoke about this. The expectation is that these licenses will be available sometime next week. There are multiple excellent features that we have with the licenses that will provide enormous opportunity for faculty as they engage our students this semester. I have received some questions about whether we will have these or should we continue. In some instances, there were faculty members using the free Zoom licenses. There won't be a need for those anymore. The one that CUNY is acquiring allows us to have up to 300 participants even within a class. So that's wonderful news. There's also the opportunity for no cost calls, regardless of the direction, location of the student or the faculty member. Faculty members can also use this to conduct very quick surveys in the class, but they can't use this for exam or test, and it's not meant for that purpose. But they can use it for quick surveys in the class. They can do screen sharing. There's a 24/7 technical support as well. And there's work going on, we expect, over the course of the semester to integrate this with Blackboard. Next slide. The president also talked about this, so I don't want to spend time on this, but it's very, very important that folks pay attention to these emails when they come. Verify the source before you respond. There was a case of a student who was scammed last week, and this was actual money. And so we don't want our community to be victims to this. So this is, again, an important piece to pay attention to. Next slide. The library, I've been asked questions, will the library be open? And I spoke about this at one of our last briefings. This is really underscoring that point again. The library will not be open. There will be limited staff, as I mentioned in that last meeting, that will provide services on select days and hours. But those services will actually be virtual services. And so I encourage folks to go to the library website just to get additional information in terms of library services. The library also worked with chairs and faculty to identify open educational resources and electronic materials so that faculty will be ready to use those for the beginning of the semester. So that's work that's been carried out by our library in collaboration with department chairs and faculty over the last several weeks. Next slide. Book advances. This is another area students have asked questions. As of the 17th of this month, we have over 2,000 students that will be receiving book advances, totaling about $1.4 million. This is slightly less than last year's number, but at least we're making progress in this regard. And we do expect additional 2 more book advance disbursements to go to students at the end of the month and then at the beginning of September. Next slide. The Childcare Center, we have actually had the center open for summer. The hours we will continue to operate are the hours you see on the screen, Monday through Friday, from 7:30 to 5 p.m. We do not have any plans to open for after school or weekend hours at this point. And then the center, of course, will operate at 25 capacity, which allows only for about 32 kids using the services. There are protocols we expect, next slide, that if you are going to be using the center to ensure that these protocols are observed, teachers will wear masks. We also expect that they maintain social distancing as appropriate as possible with the students. Parents will also be asked for daily health screening questions upon drop-off of their kids. And there are additional information that I'll encourage folks to look up at the website for the Childcare Center in terms of the services. But we will observe full protocol in terms of ensuring the safety of the students, the faculty and the staff that would indeed be using this facility. Next slide. I've also received questions, will the Apex be open? No, we have not been approved to have it open reopen at this time. Unfortunately, all facilities will remain closed. The fitness center, the pool, the sauna, the basketball and ball courts, locker rooms, studio rooms, all of these will remain closed for the moment. At any time we have permission to reopen, we will provide information on when that will happen. And then we will also provide information on the required protocols to be observed in that event. Next slide. The counseling center, again, is another area that we've had questions asked. We will continue to provide virtual services to students, and I've provided a link to the counseling center. Students and others using the center should refer to that web page and request information, and then suddenly a staff person in the counseling center will be able to respond to students. The same applies also for our Office of Student Disability Services. That too will open virtually for services. Next slide. We have created a virtual basic needs center to provide support to our students, micro grants that allows them to be able to pay for utilities, support them with housing, rent. We're using funds, as I mentioned in our last meeting, from the Petrie Foundation and the CARES Act funds to allow us to provide this support services to our students. The food pantry will also be open, but virtually. And we're providing gift cards to students actually in need of support to be able to buy grocery. And then we also received, as I mentioned in one of our last meetings, we did receive a major grant from the New York City Food Bank that allows us also to provide additional groceries and support services for our students in this regard. I did mention the counseling center before. We have partnered with the Department of Social Work. That will also, faculty in that program will be able to provide some counseling support services to our students as well. Loaner devices, the president mentioned this, MiFi. There's a link there for students also to apply and to do so quickly. We have received a batch of MiFi from CUNY, and we're working to purchase additional MiFis also to add to that portfolio we have. Next slide. One final good news I want to share, and I just got this, tomorrow we will be having the new faculty orientation. The president and I will be joining that group of new faculty members virtually. And this is an opportunity actually for us to welcome the colleagues to the college family. We have 26 new hires that are joining us. And those, what is really fascinating about this and brings me great joy as well is the diversity of the faculty that we will be meeting tomorrow. 9 white faculty, 17 faculty of color. 8 of them are Hispanic faculty, 8 Black and African American faculty, 1 is Asian, 13 are males, 13 are females. And that's one of our best in terms of the diversity of the pool that we are bringing to the campus this academic year. In spite of the challenges we face, in spite of navigating the environment we have, we've actually, our deans, department chairs, and the search committees have done a great job in moving us in this direction. I do want to thank Allison and the team in the provost office who have put this wonderful program together for tomorrow. It's a long day. I start in the morning and it lasts till about 3 o'clock. And usually the day ends with a tour of the Bronx, but we will not be able to do that tour of the Bronx this time around. There will be a virtual tour of the Bronx that the president has provided us that we will be sharing with folks as well. So at some point down the road, we may be able to do the physical tour of the Bronx. I am very, very pleased that we have these colleagues of ours. I was part of the many, many interviews that we had. to bring them to the college. And this is a very strong and talented group of faculty colleagues. And I welcome them on behalf of the college community to Lehman College. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Provost. That really is pretty great news, and it's really wonderful to have that diverse group of faculty that are joining us. Looking forward to meeting them tomorrow.
Absolutely.
There's a question, maybe you can think about this one and we'll come back to it after we've had the other updates about the disciplines of the new faculty. So we'll hold on to that. Maybe we'll get a chance to give it a little idea, but let's move now to Vice President Rotolo, who can update us on campus reopening and whatever else she sees fit to tell us.
Thank you, President Lemons. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm coming to you from the beautiful Lehman College campus. That's only missing one thing, and that's all of you. It was incredible to me when I came on campus today, and I've been here all week, but when I came on today, it just looked absolutely gorgeous, and I watched everyone this week going through what they normally do to prepare the campus for everybody to come on, but nobody's here. So it's it was a big letdown, I have to say. I've received a lot of questions that I'm going to try to respond to now, and I'm sure there'll be more after this. But for the bookstore, and I wonder if you can put up my slide. We've received questions about the status of the bookstore. The bookstore will not be open for you to physically go to the store. It is operating fully online. The bookstore sent a flyer last week out to all students. We have sent out a flyer again this week to faculty and students, and we will be sending a flyer again next week. Plus, we will be posting this on the webpage, and it has a direct link to shop at the bookstore online, and they will be mailing, free delivery, shipping everything right to your home. So you do not have to come on campus to pick things up. And the bookstore will not be physically open or present on campus, but they are shipping things to everyone. And you can connect through the link here where it says shop required textbooks, or go to the website for the bookstore, which is www.bkstr.com. Parking, I've received questions about parking. Because there's going to be very limited staff and faculty on campus this fall, we've decided to extend faculty and staff parking privileges through December 31st. So there will not be a need to renew your parking pass. We're going to set it up so that the existing parking passes work. The testing site is remaining for now, probably through the weather gets bad in the winter. They are relocating to the south parking lot to accommodate the high school and their needs, which are a lot more extensive than ours. So the faculty lot will be open, and Paul Avenue will continue to be open for faculty and staff to park on for access on campus. Food service will not be returning in the fall to the campus. They have told us they will not be opening. What we're doing is we're working with Canteen, who is our vending company. They have these salad and sandwich vending machines, and I've seen the quality of the product. It's very, very good. We're working with them to see if we can bring some of those vending machines onto campus to provide food services. We're also talking with CUNY about potential other options for food service. We have not finalized those plans, but expect to be able to do that. But again, keeping in mind there will be very limited people on campus through the fall. And that's the main, I think, takeaway from our campus reopening plan, is that there will be very few people on campus. It'll be very similar to what we have now. There'll be essential workers. There will be occasional people coming to campus just as you are now. And there will be a few classes, surprisingly enough, none that overlap over the course of the entire week, that will have students. I don't think at any point we exceed 18 students in one particular session on campus. And those 18 students are broken into separate groups in separate rooms so that they're not even all together. So we really have developed, I have to actually say that the deans, the chairs, and faculty have really developed quite exceptional plans to ensure the safety of both them and the students in coming on campus for classes. The process will be as the process is now. We will not open up the campus to anyone. It is a closed campus, and you must have an appointment. You must be scheduled to come on campus. The process for scheduling is faculty submit to your chair submits to your school dean, who then submits it to the administrative director, who's receiving and developing all of the lists. Researchers are sending it to the point of contact for researchers, and faculty must submit their student lists for their classes on campus at least 3 days. More would be appreciated, but at a minimum 3 days in advance of your class. If someone is not on a list, they will not be given access to the campus. We are required to track everyone that's here and make sure that we know where everyone is going to be and when they're going to be there. So that process will continue. I'm drafting up a memo that I'm hoping to send out to your deans to distribute to you on tomorrow, Monday, the latest, with all the procedures in it that will, again, follow what we're doing now. Students must also screen prior to coming to campus. Everyone must wear masks. Everyone must maintain outside 6-foot distance. Inside, we're using 10-foot distances from each other. Wash your hands. Use hand sanitizing whenever you touch anything. And we are working with the schedule to ensure we have additional staff where we need it to accommodate the schedule of people on campus. And I think that's basically it, barring any questions.
Thank you, Vice President Rotolo.
Thank you, President Lemons.
One of the questions that did come up in the chat was about the days and hours the campus is open. Do you want to say anything about that? Weekdays, weekends?
Well, we have Monday through Friday, definitely always open. Weekends, we have some weekend classes. We will be open on the weekends, but we're not open for anyone to just come in. It has to be scheduled. So if you're scheduled, we have people that are here 24/7. We've always had people here 24/7. Public safety's here 24/7. The plant is operated 24/7. But we've been basically operating with people 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Now that classes start, that'll extend into the evening, probably 9, 10 o'clock, Monday through Friday, and on Saturdays. We do not have anything planned for Sundays at this time.
Great, thank you. So with that, I'd like to turn to Vice President Sarmiento, who's going to give us some of the details about enrollment for the fall. And maybe I don't know if you're going to tell us a little about the summer, but certainly the fall. Vice President Sarmiento.
Thank you, President Lemons. Before I go into just a status update for fall enrollment, I kind of wanted to address some of the questions in a more direct way regarding financial aid. There's been a lot of questions, and I want to be able to see if I could alleviate some of the concerns of our students. You know, under normal circumstances, the work of financial aid is complex. The oversight of this program is the Department of Education. It's not CUNY, it's not Lehman College, it's the Department of Education. And when we started to work remotely, the work got more detailed and more complicated. To give you an idea of how complicated, over the course of last fall, we received 10,500 visits. This summer alone, not including August, we have already seen or had over 40,000 individual emails and 2,500 calls. And that's a lot of volume that, that the staff is trying to keep up with. Now, let me also talk a little bit about the staff. Over the course of a year, we had a few counselors leave. One was on a medical leave, another retired, and two left for a promotion and to get a job closer to home. And that has caused, along with the being off-site, some difficulties in terms of processing. All staff have been home and working just like the students are, and just like everybody is, with spotty internet, childcare issues, sick family members, and so forth. So it's been a lot to be able to work things out. And I credit Vera Sinesi, our Director of Financial Aid, of doing yeoman's work with short staff, and especially what she has done for book advances in what Provost Nwosu has outlined. But despite all this, under the leadership of Provost Nwosu, the college has responded quickly and within the bounds that what is humanly possible. I'm pleased to announce that we did hire 2 new staff to the financial aid office. Well, actually, they're not really new staff. They were working part-time in the office. They recently received their college degrees, and they proved invaluable to the team. So we're really happy to have Kiswana, Brian, and Paula Cooper join the financial aid team. And secondly, one of the also good news is we also realized that some students didn't have the technology to sign documents, printers, or scan. So we've secured the necessary software to allow students to validate their documents and sign them electronically. And that's going to be launched next week. And despite all of the delays, the book advances, I think, has really been a testament to the work. Not just a month ago, she was reporting out that we wouldn't be able to get any book advances. And so again, kudos to her and her team. Due to the COVID, and here's what I think students should take away with, is due to COVID and some of the delays in financial aid, we have revised our cancellation policy for non-payment. A lot of students are wondering, will I get canceled? Well, I have news for you. If you are registered in classes, you are registered in classes, even with the balance that you have, and that you will not be canceled for non-payment. Your financial aid is pending and you are liable for that tuition, but we will not take action in taking you out of classes due to financial aid delays. Also, as we work through the backlog and we're getting through it with the additional staff, I just want all students and even some of the outside parents that have emailed just to be patient, that we're going to answer all of the emails. We're going to get through all the documents. And again, if you're in classes right now, be assured you're in classes. You're not going anywhere and we're not taking you out. So that kind of, I hope, gives a little bit more context in terms of financial aid. In terms of enrollment, so right now at this point, we're trending 2% above where we were from last year. A bulk of the growth has been in graduate programs. Again, I want to shout out the program directors at the schools. They've done a great job in helping us. And we're trending a 1% in undergrad. One of the things I think I want to be able to highlight is our freshman class. At this point, we probably will be looking at the largest freshman class since tuition was free. And so we were planning for 978 students. At this point, we have 1,100 students. And so that's a 21% increase. And I want to commend the work of Gina Mucci, the GPS team, Althea Ford, and all of the chairs that have helped to build the learning communities. The other thing that I want to report out is that transfers has always been a big population for the fall. It hasn't been this semester. We're actually down 19% from where we were last year. But we're also trending the same way with all of CUNY. In fact, there's only one school in CUNY that is even where they were at last year. So it is something that we're looking at, and there still is 1 week left in order to register for classes. So that's my report. Back to you, President Lemons.
Thank you so much. It's really, really a lot of great news in that report, and it reflects that didn't just happen. You and your team have done an amazing job, as you always do, and we sort of have come to take it for granted, which we shouldn't, because I know it is just a huge effort. And what you said about financial aid, I think, just illustrates the kind of creativity that's being applied when these situations come up, and finding solutions. And I'm sure that's going to continue. But it's recognizing, okay, there's something that isn't working as well as it could be right now because of, for instance, the need to validate with signatures. That's a pretty big problem to solve. But that's just a great example of what's happened on your team. I know it's happened on other teams too. But anyway, thank you to you and everybody in enrollment management for doing such a really amazing job. I mean, those are really actually very astounding enrollment numbers, given everything else that's swirling around us.
Thank you.
So we'll turn to some questions now that have come in as these presentations have been made. And one of them I will take first, which is just a question about, should we be, what are we thinking about the spring term in terms of, are we going to be teaching remotely or not? And to give you a very short answer to that question, I would say, yes, you should be planning to teach remotely in the spring term. Miracles might happen, but if they don't, I think that it's a pretty good bet that that's where we'll be. And I think it's really important to think that way because of what I said before, that we will see continuing improvement as we go through the fall term. As we all work at the various things that we are doing remotely, we'll get better and better. And I think we just have to have the mindset, we're going through the year this way, so we will just keep working at that. We will just keep improving. And so I think it's the very best thing is to just imagine spring term pretty much like the fall term. And if we get surprised and it's not like that, that'll be all wonderful. So let's go to a question about class size. This will come back to you, Provost, about determining class size requirements and when faculty will know if there will be closing of sections.
And Rene can speak to, Rene Sarmiento can speak to the discussion about the closing of sections and the dates that we have scheduled on that. We have another meeting this evening. Every week, the enrollment management small team, leadership team meets to discuss, decisions we make around this line. So she can speak to the specific date. And then also she can address the question about class size, because she's worked very closely with chairs and deans in that regard. Two very quick questions to the question that was raised previously about the disciplines of the faculty, a new faculty. I will provide that in a separate report to the campus. I don't have that for today because the information I shared, I was so excited when I received it that I wanted to be able to share that with the campus community, but I'll send an email that will provide the specific information about disciplines. There was also the question about Zoom licenses and where you can actually request that. That's the Office of Online Education. They've always managed that in coordination with the IT office. And then the additional question that whether you can actually access Blackboard via the Zoom license. That's the enabling part I talked about, that over the course of the semester, we will be able to integrate those two. And once that happens, students can actually sign in from a single link. And then faculty can also do a number of things for that purpose. We will share that information when that becomes possible. are available. But in terms of requesting the Zoom licenses, the online office will provide that information. Rene, you want to talk about the date for canceling class sections?
Happy to, Provost Nwosu. The date for the cancellation of low enrollment classes is on the academic calendar, and it's set for tomorrow, August 21st.
That's the 21st, that's correct.
I have been working as well as Vice President Rotolo and Provost Nwosu, working with the deans in looking at which classes are low enrolled and doing everything we can to be able to combine sections. Just a conversation today, if Ellen's on the call, she knows that there was a class that was in danger of canceling. Enrollment management did a push to certain students, and now we've pushed over that threshold. So I could say that we've done, for the courses that were looked at in terms of low enrollment, we have been looking at opportunities where students may not know that they could take those courses to satisfy their course requirements. So the cancellation will be done sometime on Friday, and then the normal course of the schools informing them and the students having alternatives will be done. I think that, and Provost Nwosu has echoed this as well as President Lemons, that it's important that the classes that we cancel don't hurt students who are about to graduate. And so we're taking a very close look in that to make sure that students who are right on the threshold are not stalled and have another semester to be able to complete.
Vice President Sarmiento, I wonder if you could also just comment on this question about whether students are able to speak with TAP or FAFSA representatives.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think with the volume of that we're dealing with right now, what we're trying to do is rely on the email to be able to answer as many as we can. Part of financial aid is not just the forward facing of answering the questions, but more importantly, I think those questions that students have is my paperwork process in the back room, right? And so what Vera Sinesi, the Director of Financial Aid, is trying to do is trying to balance that. So if we took all of the advisors offline to answer individual questions so close to the beginning of the semester, our concern is that we wouldn't be able to process financial aid in a timely manner. But so students should definitely use the email to be able to contact, and I assure you that in time that they will contact and get back to individuals. If they do email, please include your EMPL ID and be as specific as possible with your question, no matter how long it is. That way we're able to answer it once and not have the back and forth.
Great, thank you. One of the interesting facts that is kind of a CUNY-wide statistic right now that I learned this week is that there was a pretty detailed analysis done of numbers of sections offered across the university and class size, and it is remarkably close to what it was last fall in terms of just the number of sections offered and class size. And across the whole university, we're about 98% online. So what's happening at Lehman very much reflects what's happening at the other campuses in the university, and with very little on-campus presence. But also, it looks like a very similar pattern of course delivery to what we had when we had all of our students on campus, which I found to be quite interesting. There was I have to just sort of note here that one of our attendees today is a transfer student who was happy to be adding to our numbers, Rene. We're happy to have you. Welcome. Also, Dean Mann has just put up on the chat that there's a web page that will give you information about the new faculty. So if you go onto our website, the page is academic-aid.org. personnel/meet new faculty. That's with hyphens between the words. So you can go on there and you can see who's joining us, who's going to be attending the new faculty event tomorrow. So I think that'd be a great thing to do.
And President Lemons, there was a question about exercise science classes doing internships, meet in person for their weekly class meetings. Rene, would you be able to comment on that particular one, Rene Rotolo, in terms of the specifics of it? Because I think Rene is frozen. All right, I think she's frozen.
Rene, did you hear that question? Maybe.
And then I think, Ms. President, you're frozen as well. I think Rene is frozen.
Yeah, PP Rotolo is frozen. So it looks like she's left us and will be coming back.
Okay, well, this is our life in the remote world. Well, we're close to wrapping up. I don't think that we have, let me just see if we have any other new questions that have come in. Vice President Rotolo's just texted me that she had a glitch with her laptop. So this is probably a good time to just say also that if there are specific questions that we haven't been able either to get to or that just need a little research, we can always follow up with email to everyone that attended the session. So we do have a way to make sure that we get all of those questions answered. So are there any last comments, Vice President Sarmiento or Provost Nwosu, that you would like to add as we sort of move to our closing time?
Except to simply say that I'm delighted, excited that we're coming back to Fall and It Starts next week, and to thank everyone that's made it possible for us to all come back. Certainly we wouldn't all be physically present there, but the idea that some of us will be there, it's exciting. And simply to thank again our faculty, our staff, and chairs and deans and administration, everyone who has really worked hard to get us here. This will be quite different because in spring, we moved to this modality around March. For fall, it will be an entire full semester in this mode. So we will continue to learn from this process and continue to support one another. Again, I encourage folks to be flexible and be mindful of the challenges that many of our students might experience as they join us. We have been communicating with them in terms of how to engage this new environment in terms of learning and then work with them. We don't have all of the tools, but as we get them to you. I know there's been a comment about getting Zoom licenses quickly to folks. I know we will do our best to get it to everyone as soon as we have additional information. So thanks everyone again, and look forward to seeing you.
President Lemon?
Renee's back.
Yeah. Oh, Rene Rotolo.
Yes.
Welcome back, Vice President.
Sorry, I don't know what happened, but my computer just crashed.
Oh,
God. Well, I think, we're on the wrap up, and I think that remaining questions we can take up next week, or we can respond to the attendees with email. So let me just wrap this up and just say a few things. And I think that Provost, you gave us wise words there in a number of ways, and I really appreciate that. you know, we're in such an unusual place in the way that we're doing things. And one of the things that I wanted to just briefly mention is, you know, there's been a lot of discussion, and if you've followed what's happening in the national press, particularly the mainstream press around this term, and you've watched what's happened with colleges and universities all over the country who started out 3 months ago saying we're going to be in person. And yes, there were a lot of voices who were saying we don't think so, and they proved to be correct. But there's been all around that discussion, particularly with private institutions with very high tuitions and very high costs. There's been a lot of discussion around, is tuition really worth it? If I'm a parent and I've got a child that's going off to a school that's charging $60,000 a year in tuition, am I really willing to pay that? And that's a very different discussion from the one that we're having as an institution that doesn't spend $150,000 a year per full-time student, but spends around $16,000 a year per full-time student, and where tuition is definitely higher than we would like it to be, much higher, but still is under $7,000 compared to $50,000 or $60,000. But still, those questions about value, is this really worth it? I know our students have that question. Their families have that question if we're going to get all of our classes online. And I think, and I don't discount that question. I think that's a legitimate question to ask. We've put some information. I wrote a couple of responses to those questions that are on our website. And just in closing, what I would say is, just to summarize, I think what I've written is that there are two ways to look at it, really. You can look at the costs to the college, and we all know very well that the way we run our campus and the way Lehman College runs its budget is very lean. And we've talked about issues in offices and needing more personnel to provide the services to the extent that we really would like to. And we know that any drop in revenue immediately translates into either a loss of service for students or a loss of some kind of instructional capacity. And there's really no buffer in there that we have. And so if we look at it from the cost side, that's the way it looks. But probably more important is really look at it from the value side. So what's the value? We had, I don't know if you know this or not, but we had over 60% of our students had taken at least one online or hybrid course before March of this spring. So our students, many of our students had some experience. We had over 500 faculty members who had taught online or hybrid courses before March 19th of this spring. So we did not go into this without experience. And really without a lot of depth. And as you know, we've got a really excellent Office of Online Education. So with everything that we've done since March, preparing for this fall, we have to say that there's quality there. We know it's going to improve, but there is quality. And when we go to the question of value, what is the value to students? I look at it more as a question of what's the lost value if students don't manage to continue with their curriculum and move steadily as they were towards graduation. What is the loss? And to me, the loss is, first of all, there's a delay in graduation. There's a delay in obtaining the degree. And for our students, for most of them, that's a real significant loss. It's a loss in time, it's a loss in earnings. And so that's always a risk, and that will happen if students don't continue with their education. And there's also something that we all have observed, and it's very well known, and that's when students stop out, sometimes then there's a pause and they take a while to come back. And that's very detrimental to students because that jeopardizes potentially their ever receiving their degree. So when you look at it from the value side, the value is there. And I think that we're all doing everything we can to make sure that value is as close as we can get it to what it would be if those students were all on campus. We can't kid ourselves and think that it's the same. It isn't the same. But I think the value's there, and I think we all can feel pretty confident that we're doing the things that we need to do to make sure that students do get their value. The other question is around fees. And if you look at the fees that students pay, whether it's tech fee or other fees, those fees are really mostly paying for things that are ongoing. Those are services that continue, whether it's the Veterans Office or whether it's mental health services or all the services that students would have access to. They're going on virtually, and some of them are on campus as well. So again, I think the value's there, and I think that we all can feel pretty confident about that. So with that, we've come to the end of our time. I want to thank Vice President Sarmiento again, Vice President Rotolo, Provost Nwosu, and Joshunda for organizing us, and for everyone who's attended, and wish everyone the best as we begin the academic year 20 to 21.
Thank you.
Thank you.